It's honestly been sad to watch the downfall of Gainax. Once known for unique and genre-changing labors of love, if sometimes poorly budgeted or managed, the studio suffered 3 mass staff exoduses in the past 3 decades. These staff went on to found studios Gonzo, Trigger, and Kara, leaving Gainax with a few old staff and old IPs. Since then, Gainax hasn't made anything of note since Switch upon the Pleiades, and they're best known now for selling off production materials, money laundering, the studio president being arrested for sexual misconduct, and being the main reason behind the schedule slip of Kara's rebuild of Evangelion films. But make no mistake, Studio Gainax had a proud history producing a ton of classic anime, like 1990's Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water. While this anime came out in 1990, it originates in the 70s, when Toho Company of Godzilla fame approached Miyazaki Hayao to adapt the novel 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea to a TV anime. That anime never got made, but Toho retained the rights, and after a lot of internal office drama, they gave it to Studio Gainax. The final product was a 39-episode anime series that mixed elements of various Jules Verne works with original content, and while it lost the studio 80 million yen at the time due to their trademark lack of money sense, it was still a big success, and has still been established as one of the standout series of the early 90s. This story begins with Jean, a young inventor in the 1880s, being distracted from an airplane competition when he sees a girl go by on a bicycle and decides that love at first sight is a great reason to immediately go after her. After saving her from some jewel thieves and getting over the terrible first impression he gives, he and the girl, Nadia, start globe-hopping to try and find where she came from and avoid the increasingly dangerous multiple factions who are after her and the powerful gem she carries, the Blue Water. The show is beautiful and bursting with ideas. The status quo changes in more ways than just changing the setting from time to time as they go to different locations. Early in the series, Jean has to team up with the jewel thieves who were the initial villains against a more threatening faction, and they actually stay as allies after that. The character designs look good, both the dub and the sub do a good job, the show gets surprisingly dark for all ages anime of the era, and the references to other anime are appreciated, yet subtle enough for new viewers to not feel thrown out of the story. It's easy to see why the show was a success despite how much money it lost, being one of the reasons that the TV station NHK became synonymous with anime and otaku culture. Unfortunately, despite all this good stuff, Nadia the Secret of Blue Water has some glaring flaws, and I don't just mean 90s Gainax's trend of rushed, confusing endings when the budget runs out. While the main cast are usually pretty entertaining, they sometimes really grate on the nerves. Jean in particular bounces from pure good boy to insensitive creep. I mean, in the first episode alone, he chases after Nadia, whom he's never even met, pesters her while she ignores him and after she tells him to go away, and tracks down her workplace to stalk her there, too. And this is presented as justified, seizing the moment and saving the day. In fact, he's easily forgiven for a lot of stuff that he really shouldn't be. Nadia herself is normally better, but sometimes falls into the pit of irrationality, from fits of jealousy to not trusting technology, just so she can cause problems for the rest of the cast and move the plot along. This is especially the case in filler, where on 2 separate occasions, her character trait of refusing to eat meat because she can talk to animals is magnified into militant veganism, where she renounces the others for eating animals, even in survival situations, and decides to sabotage everything for the heck of it. This is the girl who owns a pet lion? She isn't feeding him cabbage, is she? The ups and downs of the series are obvious, and it can be blamed on the series' troubled production. NHK wanted a lighter tone, and Gainax wanted darker, causing them to butt heads constantly. The production team overworked themselves on the show, with director Anno Hideaki, a noted perfectionist, putting in 18-hour days. Other projects Gainax took on at the same time to offset the losses they were dealing with all ran into problems themselves. The series was extended from 2 cours to 3, so they had to scramble to figure out what to do, and the studio didn't even end up holding the rights to their own series. It's well known that Anno spiraled into depression between this and his next work, Neon Genesis Evangelion, and everything he went through with the production of Nadia is widely seen as a major reason why. This all culminated in a terrible filler arc that was outsourced to Korean animation studio Say Young and took up a noticeable chunk of the show. The gang gets separated, washes up on a desert island, decides that, oh well, guess they live there now, and a bunch of stupid antics ensue that feel like a whole different series. The island arc of Nadia was probably the most infamous filler arc in anime history until Naruto's 2-year-long stretch of filler 15 years later. and it's followed just a few episodes later by another, but thankfully shorter, pointless and cartoony arc in a random undisclosed place in Africa that again derails the characters and the plot, and then a recap episode after that. But most people starting the series are warned to skip all these episodes, and they're not even considered canon. If you do skip over them, you'll have a much better time. Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water was originally licensed and released in 1992 by Streamline Pictures, one of the first anime distributors that brought over anime uncensored. However, they only managed to put out 8 episodes, subbed and dubbed, on VHS. ADV license rescued the show in 1999 and redubbed the entire thing, releasing it in single volumes in 2001 and then box sets in 2004. And then Sentai license rescued it again and distributed it in one box set in 2014. It was on Anime Network for a while, and as you might expect, now it's on High Dive. There was a movie, too, that had little if any involvement from Gainax, and nobody really acknowledges it, but ADV did release that too. It's easy to see why Nadia is a classic anime, but it's also easy to see how it ran into problems. The ups and downs of the production process took a clear toll on the show, and made what was a commercial success also a financial failure for the studio at the time. I love the characters for the most part, although the 2 leads can really grate on my nerves, and the atmosphere is carefully crafted with beautiful settings and great soundtracks, and honestly the best thing about the show. Nadia, The Secret of Blue Water may not be perfect, but what's good is very good. This is Secret Identity Studio, and don't eat cave mushrooms when you don't know what they are. Also, if you marry a woman you knew when she was 5 years old, and you were not 5 years old, that's creepy. Don't do that.